everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Headstrong podcast. I'm your host, Danielle Mills. Today, we have a really super special guest. Her name is Katie Sonier. Welcome to the podcast, Katie.
Thank you, Danielle, so much for having me.
I am super excited for all of you guys to get to know Katie a little bit better because not only is she a phenomenal athlete, trainer, she does so many things, but I really think you guys are going to love kind of like her story. So Katie, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got to this point today? Just abbreviated though.
Yeah, so I always was some sort of athlete growing up. And then I kind of went through this crazy random growth spurt. So I was a gymnast, and then I quit gymnastics at age 13. And at that time I was about 4'11", 90 pounds, tiny, smallest friend in my friend group. Like I remember my mom called me Peanut, like I was just a tiny person. And then I kind of stayed smaller. So I was 5 foot, and then I grew to like 5'3" when I was 16. I know that I was 5'3" at 16 because I had it on my license plate through college, and everyone was like, "This is not you." But then randomly at 16, I just shot up. So I grew probably to like 5'10", 5'11", and then eventually in college, I hit a full 6 foot. So it was like a really hard time for me in terms of feeling comfortable in my own body. And I just felt like awkward and uncomfortable and just really self-conscious about like this new size that I was in. So in this time, I would say really in college, I started spending more time at the gym. And this is when I really fell in love with weight training. And I loved how it made me feel. And I felt like I finally had something to empower me and make me feel more comfortable in my own skin. And slowly over time, I really learned to embrace and accept and love my size. And I learned a whole new love for myself. And I fully owe training to that. And it was in college that I was like, I want everyone to feel this way. I want to make this a full-time career. I want to help other women feel what I feel and overcome their own insecurities and whatever else they're battling with. So in college, I decided I wanted to be a full-time trainer. And then that is when I found Equinox, which is where we originally met. So I moved post-college. I moved to Miami at 22 years old to work as a full-time trainer at a gym called Equinox. I worked there for a little over a year, gained tons of great experience working with clients, absolutely loved it. And then in that time, I started thinking about wanting to launch my own business, which is called Train with Katy. So a year later, I launched my own business, and then it's kind of grown from there. So, and then 2 years ago, I signed a lease to my own space. So currently now I'm running my online training program called Train with Katy, working with thousands of women. I own a gym in Miami, and then I'm also training people one-on-one and group training classes. So my every day is all about training people and helping people feel more comfortable and confident in their own skin.
I love that. I love all
sorry, that was a little long.
You said no, that was great. You brought everybody completely up to speed. I want to kind of dive back to your childhood a little bit. And you mentioned that you were significantly shorter than you are now. And it's kind of cool hearing that coming from you because I'm like 5'11" myself. And I remember going through a pretty big growth spurt, not that big, but it was like big. And I was a tennis player. So I remember that was like really tough for me from like my knees and like pains and stuff. Like when you went through that growth spurt, did you experience any of that? Like from
so I remember I had like crippling hip pain. Like I remember I would be walking in the hallways of school, and like I'd have to stop and like sit down. And I remember one specific time, like shopping. We went out shopping, and I had to like stop what I was doing and sit down in a chair because my hips were just like killing me, which is funny that you mentioned that. But yeah, I had tons of hip pain in that time. And then I remember feeling so tired all the time. So I went from gymnastics, and then I went right into cheerleading just because cheerleading was a similar sport in terms of like the tumbling and stuff. When I first started cheerleading in 9th grade, I was the flyer. I was the little girl up top And then I grew out of nowhere, and they're like, all right, now you have to be a back spot, the tall girl in the back. But I remember like I lost all my tumbling skill. Like I went from like the best tumbler on the team to like I could barely move my body the same, just because everything felt so different, because I was now so much longer and heavier, and that was extremely frustrating. I remember like I just felt so frustrated. I didn't know what I was going to do. So yeah, I definitely had those same pains that you did.
Oh my gosh. And then just one question I just thought of when you were telling me this is, did you notice a big change to how you were treated or perceived by the outside world when you were a shorter adult versus an extremely tall adult? Like, was there a big difference?
Yeah. So like I said, like my mom used to call me Peanut, like, which is just like, she would never call me that now, because I'm way bigger than her now. But then I would say I kind of went through, like I've had some instances where people would say like that I was manly looking or like a man because of how big I am. And like, yeah, I remember one time like hearing a guy talk about how like he would never date a girl who was more than like 160 pounds. And I remember like not saying anything, but at this time I was like so ashamed of like, because I weigh 180 pounds now, and I was like so ashamed. I didn't want to tell anyone. And I was even like this on social media at first, like having a bigger following. People would reach out to me all the time and be like, how much do you weigh? And I like wouldn't want to tell them. And now it's like I make a post like once a month about my weight, just because that's like one of my most, like, I get like some of the most positive feedback from those posts to show people like it's okay to be bigger, it's okay to weigh more. It's not about what the scale says, it's about how you feel in your own skin. And again, we can bring that all back to training, because training is what has made me feel, I feel so good that I don't care what the scale says. Like the only time I step on the scale is to just make a post on it and empower other people and remind them there's more to it than just a scale number.
No, definitely. I found that like through watching your social media over the past couple of years, so much of an evolution. And I love that you have so many posts that just empower women. And like, it's all about you being a badass and doing all these like crazy strong exercises. And then like your tribe is like doing them too and seeing all these amazing results. Like I love watching that, because there's so many women and girls out there who may be ashamed of their body, or they don't understand that like they're bigger or stronger than other people, but they look at it as a negative, and you like flip it and you're like, no, that's your superpower. Like this is you. And I love that.
I think that's like that's what my messaging is all about. Like we are not following this training program to be the smallest versions of ourselves or be as skinny as possible or to weigh X amount. It's more about empowerment, being the best version of yourself, and focusing on what your body can do in the gym and your performance versus just trying to look a certain way. So I think that that's what brings in so many people, and that's what attracts so many people to my program, because it's like, oh, my coach isn't going to like weigh me every week or like force me to like not eat this or that. Like, no, I'm going to encourage you to live your best life and feel the best that you possibly can in your own skin. And that's going to look different for everyone.
When did you feel like it really like took off? Because I could say like from watching it, it seems like overnight it just like blew up, but like you live it every day. So like, is there a moment or a time where you're like, oh, I'm doing it now? Like,
yeah, I would like, for sure. I know. I mean, in the past year, like, I just feel like we've really come together, and like every year there's more and more Train with Katy members that are like totally bought into the programming and my messaging, and they all like become friends. Like if you scroll through the Train with Katy Facebook, it's like unbelievable how supportive and amazing this team is to each other. Like, and that's so important to have that community there to like help support you and cheer you on, and somewhere where you can lean on other people to get you through stuff. But yeah, I'd say like every year we just get a little bit closer, and it brings more people in because they see how positive it is and how it affects everyone. but like, I would say it started like really growing once I got my gym, because I feel like I was having your own space. I'm able to create more content and keep pushing my messaging out there. I think something like that's really important when building your brand is to, like, you can never like over deliver your message. Like, keep pushing the message. Like you look at my post and I'm like saying the same things over and over again, but like I feel like every time it just resonates with someone new, and then more and more people come on. So, and it's really just about the community. Like, I feel like when I began, it was like my brand was like Katie Sonier, my name, and now it's train with Katie, and this hashtag train with Katie, this huge community, and like it's just very powerful and it's awesome.
It is so awesome. Oh my gosh. I do want to talk about maybe a time that wasn't so awesome for you. Can you remember like a really big obstacle or a really big piece of adversity that you had to go through, maybe even earlier on in your career, even early on in your life, that you had to kind of overcome, and maybe how your mind or mindset kind of helped you through it?
Yeah. So over the years, I've built up more credibility. So I'm not having to like fight my methods so much, or like, why are we doing this? Like people come in and they already know, like they kind of expect it because they see my messaging, they see my methods, they know what to expect. But when you're a new trainer, a younger trainer, you don't have that credibility yet. No one knows who you are. So you have to sell people with like nothing to back it up. So this was definitely the hardest thing when I started at Equinox. Like Equinox, the system works. The gym sets you up with potential clients. You go through your EquiFit, you get the free consultation, you meet with people, and they would set me up with people. And most of the time they would set me up with like women around my age, because that's kind of like my target audience. So they would set me up with them, and they would constantly talk about how they don't want to be bulky, they don't want to get too big, they're afraid to weight train because they don't want to get too big. And then they're sitting in a room with a woman who's 6 foot tall, 180 pounds, and I'm trying to tell them like, you're not going to turn into me. So that was like definitely a battle that I really struggled with. I feel like at Equinox, my first year there, I mostly had like male clients. Like, it was hard for me to sell females because of, and I've gained more knowledge about, and I make more posts on this too, about like weight training doesn't turn you into this monster. Nutrition plays a high role into it, genetics, all of that. But I was a young 22-year-old and I wasn't good at explaining that. So I think that's where I really struggled at first, and had to get better at explaining it, and just building the tribe to represent my methods and what I'm talking about.
I think it really says a lot about you that you took that experience, and I'm sure at the time it was really tough because you have all these women who are trying to get fit and they're not trying to weight train, and then you're trying to, coach them, and then they're like not really getting it or understanding it. And then like to see where you are now, where you've trained probably like 90 or 80% women, and you're getting them to their goals. I bet you like you had to stay so focused during that time and still believe like your end game, and know that like I'm doing the right things. I'm not going to adjust what I do because of this person or their thinking.
Yeah, I had to push through that, and you have to get time. So like I always say, like, give me a year. I want to work with you for a year. And now that Train with Katie has been around for 4 years, I have tons of members who have been with me for years now, which means I have more and more testimonials to completely back up everything that I'm talking about. So it's not like I'm just saying it and like hoping people believe me. Like, if someone asks me something, here's proof. Like, I'll show you another testimonial. This is what this person said. This is this person's transformation, etc. So yeah, it just more time. Like, you just need more time to build your messaging and brand. So you have to push through those challenging times at the beginning.
Definitely. I think that you always did a really good job, even when you had to be in Equinox and kind of fit into their mold, but still be yourself and still brand yourself. Because I remember going there and training, and I would always see you doing like handstands and like in the middle of like the floor and just out of note. And I'd be like, wow, like how is she doing that? And I just thought it was so cool. Can you talk to us a little bit about like the handstand and kind of why that became like your initial like signature thing, and now it's like a thing?
So I started, so I told you I was a gymnast, so that's where the handstands came from. But I just genuinely enjoy doing them, and they became such a big part of my training. I feel like people see a handstand as just like this, like sometimes like silly skill, and they never really consider it to be like, you can actually put this into your training program. And I've always like put handstand training into my training program. Like I'm trying to get better at different variations of handstands. Another thing that about the handstand is like you mentioned, like you just saw me doing it in the middle of the gym. Like it's kind of like that, overcoming that fear to take up space in the gym. And there's so many Train with Katie members that talk about this. Like they'll do a handstand in the middle of the gym, and they're like, this was the coolest thing ever. Like I just kicked up into a handstand. I didn't care that people were watching me, and I took up my own space and I did what I wanted to do. And that's just like a total confidence thing, you know? So I think that's the significance of the handstand, is just doing what you want to do, when you want to do it, where you want to do it, not being afraid to take up space in a weight room that tends to be highly male dominated. So, yeah.
No, I think it's awesome. And just when you were saying that, it reminded me of some posts I remember you doing some years back where you were talking about how initially you didn't feel comfortable wearing shorts.
Yeah.
While working out. And like, it was kind of like this road to feeling like comfortable, and then like empowering yourself and then wearing them. And can you talk to us a little bit like about that experience? Because I think a lot of the ladies on here who are listening may be dealing with self-esteem issues, or not feeling confident in their own bodies, and just watching you kind of overcome that from afar. I felt like I was like there, like, yes, you could do it.
Yeah. So when I worked at Equinox, I remember I would always wear leggings, at least for like the first half. And like I had a ton of shorts in my drawer, and I'd put them on and I'd wear them for a little bit, and then it'd be time to walk out the door, and I would go back into my leggings. I just could not mentally get myself to wear the shorts because I was fixated on any little imperfection. I was ashamed of the thickness of my thighs, the cellulite on my legs. And I truly convinced myself that if I show these flaws, I'm not going to be able to pick up clients as a trainer. Like my 22-year-old self believed that I needed to portray myself as this perfect being in order to get people to want to train with me, which is obviously I've learned it's the complete opposite. Your clients want you to empower them to embrace their imperfect selves and still have the confidence to do whatever they want, wear whatever they want, when they want to wear it. So I remember it was just one day I was like, I'm going to wear the damn shorts today. Like, I'm just going to wear them. So I forced myself to wear them. It was incredibly uncomfortable. I remember I was like walking weird, and I was like, no one look at me. And like people were making comments, like they meant it in like a complimentary way, but I was like, oh no. So I think like I went back to leggings for a little bit, but eventually I forced the shorts on. And I remember just like looking in the mirror when I was training with them, and I was like, these don't look that bad. And then I kept wearing them, and every time I saw them, I was like, I look good. Like I feel good. This is normal. I want to wear the shorts. I like the way that they look. I'm going to keep wearing them. So I think like the message there is that you don't have to wait until you achieve this perfect look that you think that you want until you can wear whatever you want. Wear what you want to wear now and build up the confidence wearing it now. It doesn't have to wait. I always say it doesn't have to wait. Like if you want to feel comfortable in something, wear it now and you'll become more comfortable in it the more you wear it. And I've made posts on like one time, I don't know if you saw that post, like me training in a bikini.
Yeah.
Same thing. I wanted to feel more comfortable in a bikini, so I put a bikini on, and throughout that session, I started to feel more and more comfortable. So yeah, and now it's like all I wear is shorts, and I like make a joke of I cut all my leggings into shorts. So like all the shorts that I'm wearing they were leggings that I just cut up. So yeah, and that started like a movement too. Like I did that, and like then I was getting tagged in all these videos of people cutting their leggings off. So yeah.
See, you're like a trendsetter. No, I love it. And another thing that I love is I feel like, COVID-19 has affected everybody in some way, shape, or form. But I feel like you did a really good job of starting your online business before that even happened. So I wanted to ask you, like, did COVID-19 impact you in any type of way? And like, what were some things that you did? But then I remembered like, oh, you had your website and your programs, I believe, before that even happened, where so many other trainers had to like drastically shift what they do on a day-to-day basis. Can you talk to us a little bit about like what that experience was like for you? Because maybe there was some adjustments you had to make.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had my online business for 4 years now. So it did start up before COVID hit. So at first I definitely did see a dip in my business just because because all the gyms were closing and they're like, I'm not going to the gym anymore. So I can't follow this program anymore. So then I was like, all right, I need to change something. So then I started providing modifications. So at first I wasn't providing home modifications. So now I provide home modifications with minimal equipment, with just long bands and dumbbells, with just simple movements and equipment that anyone can have at home. So that started bringing in more people. That also started bringing in more beginners, which was awesome because this is like the best time in the comfort of your own home to learn how to move. So we've started bringing in a ton of more beginners, which has been awesome. And then to watch them progress over time too. A lot of them ended up getting more equipment for their home gym. So like they started with bands and dumbbells, and then they invested in a barbell, and now they're moving more weight. So that's been the biggest adjustment, is providing modifications, and that's definitely kept people in and brought new people in as well.
No, I think that's great. Just to like, because I know, like, I bet for some women, when they go on your page, they're like, whoa, she's doing all these things. Like, can I even do that? Like, it may seem like initially intimidating, but to just show that you can have like a complete beginner start, get to that point, I think it's probably really rewarding.
I think, I still get messages all the time. Like, can I join Train with Katie if I'm not advanced at the gym? Because I totally understand. Like, first you're going to look at the trainer and you're going to see like what they do. And then you're like, I can't do any of that. But you have to remember that a great coach meets you where you are and they build you up. I'm not just going to like make you do what I do. It's a process. And then you look at like my stories on my Instagram and you see the Train with Katie members, and there's so many advanced women. But if you really pay attention, there's also tons of women who are beginners and they're just learning how to move. And then especially if you go into our Facebook group, you will see women of all different fitness levels, all different ages. We have women from, I know, as young as 16 years old up into, we have a 69-year-old member. Tons of women in their 40s and 50s, and then tons of women in their 20s and 30s. So if you go in, you will immediately find someone who is around your level, and everyone is incredibly supportive of each other, and you will feel welcome no matter what fitness level you are.
No, I really love that. You have such a diverse group of women that are working with you. I'm sure you realize that like it's more than just like working out. It's more than just fitness. And I bet you find yourself a lot of times having to motivate, inspire, and really help women who are struggling with their mindset or self-esteem or confidence. Outside of like what you do for like fitness, do you do any types of like mental conditioning? Do you read? Is there things that you do that have helped you to kind of be the way that you are so that you can be the best coach for your team?
Yeah, so I definitely enjoy reading. I'm always trying to read some sort of book that helps me with my own internal issues. And it's crazy because I see the things that I struggle with are what so many of them struggle with, like in terms of like being hard on yourself or like expecting more of yourself or like getting pissed when you don't perform the way that you want to perform. Like as a high achieving person, there's so many Train with Katie members like that. And I'm constantly thinking of them, like when I'm like learning something or I'm going through something. And it's powerful for them to hear from me that I struggle as well. It like helps them and motivates them to also overcome their own struggles. I think I've gotten better at being like more vulnerable and like explaining that through my posts and stuff. I feel like at first maybe I didn't do such a great job as that, and they kind of saw me as like this like robotic creature that like never failed or like never failed in the gym or anything like that. And I make a point now to really show that I do. So back to what you asked, I do enjoy reading books. Like currently I'm reading Self-Compassion, which is something that I want to get better at, showing myself more self-compassion. And like little things that I'll learn there, I'll make a point to go into the Facebook group and like talk about it with them. And then I also see I talk to a therapist once a week as well. And I call her my mental health coach. And I'm always trying to get something out of our sessions that I can bring into my business. So yeah, I'm always trying to work on my mind, learning something with what I'm struggling with to help others.
No, I think that is so cool because you've always been such a high performing athlete. We didn't talk about this, but you played lacrosse at Florida, which I think is really, really cool. And when you're always performing at such a high level and you're working on your body, I always think it's so important to also intertwine your mind too. So I think it's awesome that you are reading and doing everything that you're doing. So yeah, where can all the ladies listening get a hold of you, work with you, connect with you? What is the best way for them to get with you?
Yeah, so social media is a great place to start. Katie Sonier. Find me there and you can kind of check out my posts, what I'm all about. Scroll through my stories. You can see all the Train with Katie members at work every day. I have a website, www.katiesonier.com. If you're in Miami, I'd love to have you come join some group training classes. I do 3 group training classes per week. You can see that schedule on my website as well. And then my email is always open as well. And you can find my email on my Instagram. So any of those will work.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Katie, for coming on here, sharing your story, sharing how you help women and your inspiration to so many. So I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.